Welcome back, friends and fictional folk, to You Can Certainly Fry, the weekly show where I tell you how to butcher and eat your favorite tabletop RPG monsters. Next up for the gem dragons are crystal dragons, sometimes called pearl dragons or opal dragons depending on the world. Crystal dragons are formed from the environmental energies of cold deserts, which aren't as well known as hot deserts. What makes a desert is not the temperature, but rather the amount of precipitation it gets, not whether there are sand dunes or canyons. But crystal dragons will greedily use whatever precipitation is in their environment to form the icy walls of their layers, which they like to shape into frozen palaces with their psionics. And speaking of psionics, you'll have to take the same precautions removing their psychic amethyst as you would with all other gem dragons. It is their secondary arcane gem, though, that can potentially pose a greater risk. See, the scales of a crystal dragon refract light in a way that gathers it into their bodies and directs it towards the radiant pearl housed in the back of their throats. This can cause major problems if you try and butcher the dragon with something like a sun sword, or anything else that deals radiant damage, as the scales will either redirect that radiant damage back at you, or power up the arcane pearl and cause it to release a post-mortem breath attack. You'll also want to make sure all of the built-up radiance in the pearl is released before you try and remove it, otherwise you'll end up flashbanging yourself. Once all that is done, what you're left with is a meat that is quite similar to that of a white dragon, and can be cooked in much the same way. Though along with the hint of mint in its flavor profile, there's also going to be a bit of a gritty texture from the desert part of its environmental magics. Personally, I don't think it's worth the hassle, but it is surprisingly hydrating, so maybe you can turn some of that meat into jerky if you've still got a long trek through the desert ahead of you. And as always, if you want a new recipe every month for your own game, take a look over here.